Okay, imagine this. You show up to the afterlife, totally convinced you've got a VIP pass, a golden ticket, stamped paid in full. That's our main character, Abby. She did everything right, believed all the right things, and was expecting a massive welcome party. But instead, she gets an admissions interview, and let's just say it did not go how she planned.
And the story we're digging into today asks this really fascinating question that just flips the whole script on what happens when we die. What if judgment isn't about getting a pass or fail grade? What if it's about finally, for the first time, getting a totally clear look at your own internal reality?
So after a pretty humbling little chat, Abby agrees to enroll in what's called remedial soul school. And look, this isn't detention. The registrar, this kind of afterlife administrator, makes it super clear that this is an opportunity. It's not for punishment, but to see her life for what it really was, a series of energy patterns, the real cause and effect that was happening just beneath the surface.
Now this is a really crucial point. This whole process isn't some terrifying movie where all your mistakes are played on a giant screen for everyone to see. Now, it's described as the soul finally seeing itself without all the filters and the stories we tell ourselves. It's really just about gaining an honest, unfiltered perspective.
All right, so Soul School kicks off, and lesson number 1 is all about the small stuff. We're shown how those tiny, seemingly insignificant choices we make every single day, they're not just isolated events. They actually build these powerful, life-defining habits.
The registrar starts with one specific memory. Abby is 14 years old. She gets a text from a friend in her youth group who's completely freaking out and really needs to talk. And Abby remembers this perfectly. She was tired, she had homework, so she just swiped the notification away.
And this, right here, just brilliantly shows the gap between our intentions and our actual impact. Abby told herself a story that made her feel okay about it. I'll pray for her, that's enough. But the energetic reality, what actually happened with that choice, was something totally different. She chose her own comfort over her friend's desperate need for connection. So what is this mystic light that she rerouted? Well, it's defined here as the soul's own potential. You can think of it like this divine energy we're all given. And the whole point isn't just to have it, it's to share it, to expand it by putting it into action out in the world. In that one little moment, Abby basically hoarded her portion for herself.
And here it is, the core lesson from this whole first review. The registrar isn't obsessing over this one ignored text message. They point out that this single choice is just one tiny part of a much larger pattern. See, Soul School is way less interested in our individual mistakes and far more interested in the invisible habits those mistakes build over a lifetime.
Okay, so the review then shifts from Abby's choices about others to her choices about herself. Lesson 2 dives into the pretty profound spiritual consequences of how we treat our own bodies. The idea is that our spirit needs a well-maintained vehicle to actually do its work. And again, we see this huge disconnect. The story Abby told herself was, my body is just a temporary shell. Heaven will give me an upgrade, so who cares? But the reality? She treated the only vehicle she had for this entire journey like it was disposable, constantly overloading it with sluggish energy and just calling it fellowship.
This part totally reframes spirituality itself. Abby, and probably a lot of us, associated spirituality with these big, intense feelings, dramatic worship concerts, emotional highs. But the registrar makes this critical point. Real spirituality is found in consistency. It's in the small, repeated acts of maintenance, of caring for your vehicle, not just chasing the next intense experience.
And that brings us to the third and final piece of her diagnostic. And honestly, this one's a tough pill to swallow. This lesson shows how belief, the very thing Abby was banking her entire afterlife on, could actually be used as this really sophisticated way to avoid real, meaningful change. The registrar lays out Abby's core pattern in 4 simple steps. It's a cycle. First, she'd have some big, intense spiritual experience. Second, she would completely fail to channel that powerful energy into any real-world action. Third, well, that unused energy had to go somewhere, right? So it would leak out as anxiety or random emotional outbursts. And finally, to feel better, she'd just go seek out the next spiritual high, starting the whole cycle all over again.
Wow. This quote really just nails the entire problem, doesn't it? Abby wasn't applying truth. She was consuming it. She treated these profound spiritual ideas like they were a movie or a concert, chasing the emotional high instead of using them as, instructions for how to actually live.
So with the whole diagnosis complete, the purpose of Soul School becomes crystal clear. It's not about shaming Abby for her past. It's about giving her a completely new orientation for her soul, shifting her entire focus from passive belief to active, hands-on practice.
I absolutely love this metaphor. It captures the difference so perfectly. Abby had her belief, this seed, but instead of planting it in the soil of her actual life so it could grow, she framed it. She put it on display, she admired it, but it just sat there, inert, and ultimately pretty useless.
And this all leads to her new assignment. Her whole life, Abby's default question was basically one of entitlement. When do I get my reward? When do I get what I deserve? Soul School gives her a new one, a question of responsibility. What can I repair? This simple but incredibly profound shift is the foundation of her real work.
And she isn't just sent off with nothing. She's given a tool, a visual map of her own internal patterns, her circuitry. But the most important part is the instruction that comes with it. She can't just think her way to being a better person. That circuitry can only be rewired through new choices and new actions.
And that's what brings this whole idea right back to us, doesn't it? The story leaves us with this incredible, provocative question. It suggests the real final exam isn't about what you believed, but about how you behaved. So forget good deeds and bad deeds for just a second. If your life were viewed simply as an energy pattern, what habit would be the most dominant, most repeated line on your personal map? It's a fascinating and, yeah, maybe a little uncomfortable way to see ourselves.